At a time when many youth are feeling hopeless and despairing about violence and other issues affecting their generation, the Young Prophets Ministry at Covenant United Church of Christ in South Holland, Illinois, shows them that God does care. So far, the ministry has advocated for stricter gun laws and tackled global hunger. Let's welcome Reverend Vanessa Monroe, youth pastor at Covenant UCC. We also welcome Desiree McCrae, a senior at Marian Catholic High School, and Joelle Vernon, a junior at Thornridge High School. What is the Young Prophets Ministry?
Certainly, the Young Prophets Ministry is a group of teenagers aged 13 to 18 who use their talents to advocate for social change. They are comprised of a group of young people who care passionately about justice and who are faithful. So they believe that faith and justice must kiss, and they use the gifts that God has already given them to do that. So they sing, they dance, they write poetry, they draw, they paint, all in an effort to make us aware of what's happening in the world or make change happen in the world.
Right. And so what are a few of the topics that you all have addressed so far this year?
Well, this year we've addressed, and let me say even for the past 3 to 4 years, we have been focused on both food justice and juvenile justice. So the Young Prophets have been involved in farmers markets, in making certain that the food desert that our church is located in is no longer that way, but that congregants and community members have access to locally grown organic foods. They negotiate with farmers and bring the food in. And they've done that for quite a while, and even volunteered often at the Chicago Food Depository. But I think what we're most proud of is the work that we've done around gun legislation. And that grew out of a feeling of despair amongst the young people. And it seemed that the Word of God that we preached every Sunday and that we talked about in Bible class and prayer meeting was just incongruent with what was happening in their community. And so, has God forgotten about this generation? And the answer is absolutely not. But God does have a vision for this generation, and the Young Prophets are writing that vision.
And just your passion for justice, I want you to share about your journey to Springfield.
One of the big things is I have a lot of friends personally who have lost a lot of people due to gun violence in Chicago. And we started a campaign called 700, where there's basically going off of the statistic that there are over 700 students and children who have been killed due to gun violence in Chicago. So when we heard of the opportunity to go to Springfield, we went down there, and a group of us were talking to legislators, and we actually ended up talking to one of the people who was completely against every bill we were trying to pass, and he was an influential voice in not getting it passed. So we were able to have like a 40-minute or so conversation with him, and it was more of a conversation of understanding both sides of the story, why he felt that it shouldn't be passed and why we felt that it should. And it was just like a really good experience to be able to talk to him and have him understand us, as well as us understanding his position on the issues as well. And after we had finished talking to him, a lady came up to us, and she said she was from the Illinois Gun Council, and she was just like, you guys don't even know who you've talked to. Like, this man has like shut out basically anyone trying to like talk any sense into him about this. And like, for you all to be so young and to like have a 40-minute long conversation with him like that is remarkable. And we were like, oh, we were just having a conversation. Yeah. So like, it was a cool thing to see.
And obviously, go ahead, Desiree, you want to offer something to that?
Well, I was part of the presentation of the 700 campaign at our church. And so basically the presentation goes, the 4 people who have their heads down and look sad walk into the song by Billie Holiday, Strange Fruits. And they're walking really slow, and they're just kind of really almost like zombie-ish. And they turn around as I'm reading the statistics about how 700 plus youth have died in the city, have been shot down, gunned down in the city of Chicago since 2008. And I said the number continues to rise, and then the plus turns around. And it was so powerful to have them basically be that 700 to represent that. And when the congregation saw that, I think that really showed them how much it really affects us and how much we can do to change it. And that's when we had the campaign to title guns like cars, and to actually have universal background checks for guns.
Right.
And it's been so powerful to see them supporting us. And it's not always them leading us, but we can lead them as well.
Yes.
And just to add to what Desiree said, right after that presentation, we had a thing we called like food for thought, where we had like a whole banquet set out, and we asked all of the members of the congregation to join us for some food for thought after the service. And instead of having actual food, we had a banquet table set out, and really it was like almost tablecloth rolls of the petitions to be sent to our legislators regarding the gun laws. So it was like a really cool way to lead it into it, and that's actually one of my favorite things we've done.
You did a poem, correct, in
Yes.
Springfield. So go ahead and tell us what that poem was about.
Well, basically, after we had went to Springfield, we had like got news that two of the bills we were lobbying for had got passed, and the Community Renewal Society had asked that we do a piece of spoken word. And basically the basis behind it was that although we've won this battle, like there's still so much more to come, and like it was basically just going through how much we had to go through just to get to this victory, and now we have to still keep working. The voyage to victory is not an easy one. There will be trials and tribulations everywhere, but remember, in order to appreciate victory, you must know defeat. But that does not mean we have to accept it. There will be times harder than usual, and at those moments where everyone begins to doubt you, becoming outsiders looking in, watching the storms and heavy winds that seem to blow you back every step you take. In those crucial moments, we must not give up nor give in. Do not pull out your raincoat filled with pockets of "we tried our best" and umbrellas of acceptance. Do not wear those rain boots unless you are ready to stand in a puddle of your own defeat. But instead, we will go head to head with lightning, and the rain will try to drown out our voices, and when that doesn't work, thunder will come and try too. But when the silent screams of justice is finally handed a mic, there is nothing that can stop it from speaking. And there will be a tornado of adversity, and we are the ones who have to stand up and look it in its eye. And in the midst of the storm, there will be people who cannot see your vision. People who are stuck in a state of mind where hopelessness is the governor, and they will urge you to pack up and go home. They will tell you that things are not going to get better and that you are only adding fuel to the fire. And you look them in the eye and let them know that we're adding faith to the fire. We are driven by God in a two-door car with no room for negativity. And though in our hopes for a good year, we might become tired, but we will never take breaks. There is no more space in our heart for complacency to park in. We are driven, and God will drive the storm out. And when it is all over, when the clouds part and blue skies full of new hope reveal themselves, you'll notice that those who saw the most rain in the spring will have the greenest grass in the summer. Victory comes at a high price, and a lot of change must be involved, but I assure you there is nothing sweeter than the taste of it. So have a good time. Feast in light of your feats. However, remember, this is only a battle won. There is a whole world out there needing soldiers. So do not let this victory fill your soul so much that you feel like you have too much on your plate, no room for any new food for thought. Stay humble, stay hopeful, stay hungry.
I'm so interested in hearing, what could you share with youth pastors that may be interested in starting a venture like the Young Prophets Ministry?
Often we speak of our young people as the future. And we don't often bring them into the places where decisions are made. We don't often consider that God has already planted in them something that we need to hear. And I believe that if this generation is going to be saved, that it's going to have to save itself. Yes. And so if we think about Moses and Joshua, and we think about how Joshua was with Moses in the tent of meetings, that was with God, that God says to Moses, encourage Joshua, because Joshua's not, you're not going to lead these people in, Joshua is. And so what I would say to youth pastors and senior pastors is to consider these young people as a gift, and to consider that unless we involve them in faith and justice, then they're not able to speak to their own circumstance. And if given the opportunity to speak to their circumstance, I think we'd be surprised at what God has already birthed in them. Our responsibility is to usher them into the room, keep them close enough so that they are empowered. And so what I saw at Covenant was a group of young people who were in much despair. In fact, the service that Jewel was talking about was so heavy with despair and hopelessness that at some point during the service I thought, can this be with people of faith? If this is what children of faith feel like, what of the rest of us, right? And so the question became, Lord, what do we say to these young people who offer up example after example of a youth being shot on their way to get something from a fast food restaurant after school? Or, you know, if you ask, how many of you, raise your hand, can say that you know personally someone who's been gunned down? And all these hands raised up in the church. So it just became an opportunity for, I think, God to speak through our young people and to see them go from hopelessness when we first began to such power.
Well, I thank you all for coming in to share such an inspired work and also motivating youth pastors as well as youth to get out there and get involved and to have a prophetic voice.
Definitely.
I'm Lakeisha Pete for Different Drummers and the Greater Chicago Broadcast Ministries. Keep the faith.